Let's make a 50% whole wheat sourdough. I'm using fresh milled in this instance, sifting the bran out just a little bit to get the largest pieces of bran and germ out to help with baking performance, but you can leave that in if you want. Or you can just use a pre-milled bag of whole wheat flour. I would use King Arthur's bag of whole wheat. Recipe on that card. We're going to add all our water and starter, mix it together. You're just going to mix the starter till the water turns kind of milky, cloudy looking. Then we're going to start adding our flour in. Using a strong base bread flour, I'm using King Arthur Special Patent, which is just the commercial size of the King Arthur blue bag of bread flour. This wheat is freshly milled wheat I got from Azure Standard. Not sure on protein content, but it can handle 80 to 85% hydration when I've done hydration tests on it. Just mix your salts in there and mix everything all together until shaggy with the tool. Then you're going to get in there with a wet hand and start pinching through and get a little bit better distribution and combination of everything together. You're going to mix together for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes until you get a nice shaggy ball of dough that's starting to smooth out a little bit. I usually don't take it to where it's completely smooth all over. That just takes a little bit too much time. And I like to keep it in the bowl. I do not like taking it out on the counter and doing slap and fold. Doing some rhubarb, I think I'm pronouncing it right. That's just kind of cupping it under itself. It's imitating a stand mixture movement. It helps smooth out the dough quite a bit towards the end. Once I've got good development, I'll cover it up for 30 minutes. We'll come back and do some folds. 30 minutes later, wet hand. We're going to see how extensible it is. Quite extensible, not tearing. Those are all good signs that if we've had a good hydration. If it's really soupy and gloopy, may try to add some more flour at this stage. At the beginning of the recipe, if you're not sure on your flour's hydration capacity, start with 75% hydration. So instead of the water content on this video, just do 300 to 315 grams of water for the flour amounts. If it seems a bit dry, just add a little bit more at a time, but you can always hold some water back. Once you've added it in, it's kind of hard to fix it from there. We're going to do some folds. You can either do some stretch and folds or coil folds, however you end up getting there. Just go north, south, east, west, build some tension. This is second set of folds, getting very extensible, very smooth overall, so we're just going to be really gentle on this. Usually on my coil folds, on my country loaves, I'm usually going to go anywhere from 2 to 3 folds after initial mixing. I like to round it off in the bowl. So my goal is just to get a nice, smooth, tight top every time I do it. This is the third set of folds. This should be the very last one I do. Being very gentle, just picking up the middle, stretching all the way up, let it fall over itself. Just rinse, repeat all the way around, just like last time. There's nothing rocket sciencey about this. Keep your hands wet. Just go until you get a nice smooth top, and you'll notice that dough's not wanting to stretch anymore. Taking a dough temp, it's a little on the cooler side, so I'm going to let it bulk ferment 5 hours. That's as soon as that starter and water hit that flour, that's when I start my bulk fermentation time. Usually when I hit about 80 degrees or so, I'm going to bulk ferment for 3.5 to 4 hours. Since we're a couple degrees under that, I just give it extra time. The dough is seeming very voluminous after 5 hours, holding its shape. It's got that baker's shelf look to it. Going to take these onto the scale and divide them in half. These ended up about 865 grams a piece. We're going to go and do a little bit of a pre-shape. Just round it off into a ball. Just use a bench scraper or your hands, whatever you got. Let it rest 15 to 20 minutes. I like to dust the top with a little bit of rice flour and a little bit of coarse sifted bran. You can also use regular flour at this stage. Don't go too overboard on this, but just enough to not make it stick. I usually like to do a little bit simpler shaping method. This dough is quite extensible, so I am switching to more of like a Tartine shoelace method. It's easier to just watch the video rather than me trying to explain. So just do a lot of crossing and folding until it gets to a nice tight log. If the dough feels like it's tearing or it's snapping back on you, you could just do a little bit different shaping method or let the dough rest a little longer. Then just going to tuck it up and roll it into itself, make a nice tight burrito. We're going to drop it into a 10-inch Banneton, or you can use a tea towel covered bowl, whatever you have on. It's not that crazy important. Just whatever you have on hand is what you're going to use. Same thing on the other loaf. Then we're going to go ahead and cover these up, rest for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours at room temp. It's winter in Texas, so it's quite cold. They filled the Bannetons out pretty well, and they're going to be passing the poke test. So usually once I can start to see it poke out over the top of the Banneton. Floured finger, we're going to do a poke test. The indentation goes in, but it starts to fill back in very slowly. If you do the poke test and it springs back immediately. Just give it some more time. After 8 hours in the fridge, we're going to bake these off. We're going to get our Dutch oven heating in the oven. I'm also going to do a double loaf pan method. You can drop this straight in. Just invert the loaf, put it in seam side down in both instances. Been preheating at 450 degrees for 30 minutes. This is a Dutch oven I've gotten from Coop Bakeware. Pretty nice. Really works good for baguettes and any longer form stuff. It's easier to drop in and out than a regular Dutch oven since the walls aren't so high as well. Place some parchment paper down, invert it. Do a nice 45-degree score. When I'm using a Dutch oven, I like to give it a good spritz. For the double loaf pan method, I usually don't mess with spritzing. I just found it just doesn't get quite as crispy crust for some reason. It's kind of odd. We're going to do the same scoring in there. A little out of focus, but you can see. We're going to top with an identical pan. We're going to bake at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 minutes. Take the lid off. Really nice oven springs, charges some blisters. The bread opened up nice and straight and tall. Didn't slough out too bad. Same thing for the loaf pan, went straight up. Give me a little more of a compact crumb, but that's what you expect with a sandwich loaf. After another 10 minutes, I'm going to take them out of the pans, put a metal sheet down to deflect the heat from the gas oven. I'm going to turn up to 475 degrees Fahrenheit. Bake for an additional 10 to 15 minutes. Beautiful crackly crust, nice blisters all around. You may say this is burnt, but for me this is perfect. So if you want to bake it lighter, just do 5 to 10 minutes extra. Go for an internal temperature of 203 to 204 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to cut it up into this loaf. Check it out. This is probably one of the nicer loaves I've made in a long time. Very, very nice loaf of bread. So good open area crumb, not too tight, not too open, perfect for sandwiches. We had a lot of snow down here in Texas the last couple of days. All in all, a really nice loaf of bread. That extra 50% fresh milled whole wheat really brings a nice flavor and robustness to it. Extra filling, more flavor. What more do you want? So next week, I'm going to be taking a segue into some rye bread. So if you like these kind of videos, like, comment, and subscribe for more. We'll see ya.